Hi guys, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to explain about the init function and the self parameter. In my previous video, I explained about the how to create the class and the object briefly. Now let's understand how to use the self parameter and the init function in this video. So I started the oops concepts, which are very important mainly for the interview point of view. So mainly the interviewer will be mainly focusing on this oops concept first, then he will be focusing on the collections framework, which I explained you before, which is list, tuple, set and the dictionary. So these are some collections frameworks. So these both are very important mainly when you are going for the interview. So you have to refer these two topics very clearly when you are attending a interview. Yes or no? So this class and objects, this are comes under this oops concept. So from this you have to understand everything very clearly so that it will be helpful for your interview. Yes or no? So don't miss anything. Watch till the end. If you have any doubts, mention in the comment section. I will be definitely solve your doubts. And without any further delay, let's start the video. In my previous video, I already explained how to create the class and how to create the object. How to create the class, we have to use a class keyword and the class name and the body of the class. And after defining the class, it is mandatory to create the object. Yes or no? We have to create the object creation. Object creation is very important once the class is defined. Okay, if not, we'll not get the result, will not display the correct result. So how, what is the syntax for the object creation? Object name and the class name which was defined over here. So this is the creation of object and the class. In this way we'll be creating. Yes or no? I explained you in my previous video. And to access the variables and the methods which are used in this class, will be using the object name dot method and object name dot variable name. This thing I explained. And about the self parameter also I explained you some briefly. Now let's understand in this video more clearly about the self parameter and the init function, which is very important to solve a projects. Yes or no? To lead with the projects, this init function will be helpful. Yes, let's start. Let's take an example and let's do. Yeah. Suppose let's take a class as fruits only. Yes or no? Fruits. And what is the syntax for the class creation? Class keyword and the class name let's take as fruits. Now, after creating the class, what is the second step we have to uh, make clarity, or we have to remember? After creating the class, it is mandatory to create the object also. So how to create the object? Take an object. Let's consider the object name as x equals to, what is the class name here? Fruits. So this is the syntax for object creation and this is the syntax for the creation of the class. So in this we can even pass a thing as pass. If you don't want to keep any code, or if you want to pause for some amount of time, we can use this pause also, so that it will not throw any error. It will be pausing for some amount of time. Okay, after completion of this thing, other code, we can pause this code over here. Yes or no? So in this way also we can work with the class and objects. Look at here, we are not getting any type of an error. We can pause, we can use this pause also, will not get any type of an error. But if we'll not use any pause, we'll get an error. So it is indentation error. So to pause for some amount of time, we can use this pause. Okay, now let's try to initialize some variables. So generally for the normal variables, how to use, in this way we can use like any variable name equals to the value, which is let's take the apple. So the apple is a value for the name. Okay, for the normal variable initialization we can use in this way. But name equals to apple, so we cannot use directly name is equals to apple over here in the object creation. We cannot use directly name is equals to apple, because it's not the normal variable. It's the object creation. It's a class. In the class we cannot take directly. So here how to take, let's see, let's consider how to use this, how to access the particular variable in the object and the class. Let's see how to use. Now look at here very carefully. So x is the object name, we all know. So the object name dot, and the name, what is the name, which is the variable name, which is nothing but some attributes. We can say the attribute of the x, the attribute of the object. What are the attributes we want to access? So for attributes of the particular what object. So here we can keep some value for that name. So let's take an apple only. Yes or no? So this is the correct representation of object creation in the class and object. When we are using the class and the object, this is the correct representation of accessing the variables. In the normal, we can use directly name is equals to apple, but this is not the normal thing. No, it's a class and object creation. So when we are using the class and object creation, we have to define in this way. In this way only we have to define. Yes or no? X is nothing but the, which is the object name, and the name is nothing but the attribute of the object, which is x, and equals to the value for that name. So in this way we have to represent. This is the correct representation. Yes or no? So now how to print this? So to get an output, to display an output, how to display this thing? Directly print what we have to print, x dot name. It is the attribute, the name is the attribute of the object. So we have to specify the object name also with the variable name. So that is the correct representation. Now let's see. Now we'll get apple without throwing an error. So we cannot use in this way. See, look at here. I will show in the wrong way also, so that you can understand what is the correct way and what is the wrong way. So this is a normal variable initialization which we will do normally. So let's see. Now also we are getting, but this is the wrong representation when we are working with the class and the object. We have to not use in this way. Yes or no? So we have to use x dot name equals to double quotes the value of the this thing, and if you want to print, we can use this print x dot name. This is the correct representation. Okay, not only the one, we can use many object creations, which I said before. Only we can create many object creations for the single class. In the single class we can create how many we want, we can create. So suppose let's take a name, and one more thing is color. Let's take the color as which is red. So this is one attribute value, and let's take another value which is the price. Let's take price also. Okay, price is, let it be like 12 rupees. Okay, so similarly we can create one more object creation in this way only. So similarly we can create one more object also. No, so it will not get any type of an error. We can use one more object creation also. So in this way. So yeah, look at here. Similarly we have taken the two object creations with the single class name. Yes or no? What is a class? Class is nothing but the user defined data type, or we can say it's a blueprint of the object creation. Yeah, we have created the two objects, and we use the two. For the one object creation we use some attributes, for the another object creation we use another attributes. Okay, it's fine, we can use in this way. But if we have many attributes to add to the one object creation, so here we have three attributes which we have to add to the particular object. Suppose if we have to add 50 records or 100 records to the single object creation, it is very difficult to add that 50 or 100 records to the single object creation. Yes or no? So for the small like 3 or 5 or 10 attributes to add, it is very easy to add 10 or 5 attributes. But if it is more than 50 or 100, it is very hard to add that many attributes or that many records to the single object. Yes or no? At the time, what we have to do? What we have to do at the time? Yes or no? If you want to use the multiple attributes for the single class and the single object creation, it is very difficult to work with that multiple attributes. Yes or no? So at this time, what we have to use means we have a special function which is a init function. So by using this init function, we can rectify this problem, so that the init function was introduced. I think you understood why the init function was introduced. Yes or no? So before knowing about the init function, so you have to have some knowledge about the constructor. So if you have a knowledge in the C++ language, you know what is the constructor. So in the C++, normally constructors are used to initialize the object. So normally to initialize the object, we'll be using the in the C++, we'll be using the constructor in that way. But in the Python, how we'll be using the constructor? So in the Python, how to use the constructor means the task is to initialize the data members. So what are the data members are there? To initialize the data members and while object is created. So what is the scenario over here? So when the object was created, at that time, how to initialize the data members? If you have multiple data members, how to initialize the multiple data members while when we create the object? So that task was done by the constructor in the Python mainly. Yes or no? So in this Python, we'll be having the init method so that we can rectify this problem which we have. Means init means what? Init method will, what the init method will be doing? So init method will be called every time you call an object. Means what? When you call a particular object, every time the init method will be calling. I will show you practically so that you will be understanding each and every point. Don't worry. So when we create an object, every time the init method will be called. So I will show how the init syntax will be there. So we can use this init function in the class itself. Yeah. So what is the syntax for the init function? Normal, like def. And so the init function syntax is, look at here very carefully. We have to use the two underscores. These are the two underscores, and in it, and again two underscores, and in the bracket we have to use the self. What is meant by self? So it is a predefined word in the Python itself, where the Python only provide us the self word. So what is meant by the self? So basically the self is used to access the current state or the current object. So let's consider over here only. Let's consider the current object is this X. Okay. To consider this current object, we'll be using the self. And we have one more object creation which is X1. So to access this current object which is X1, we'll be using the self. Self means what? To access the current object. So when we are working with this X object creation, the self will be used to access the current state or to access the current object. So when we are working with this X1, it will be accessing. So this is the use of the self. Yes or no? To access the current object. When we are working with the current object, to access the particular current object, we'll be using the self. Okay. Yeah. You understood what is the init and what is the self. Yeah. Let's print some body over here. Let's print welcome. Okay. Welcome. Yeah. So, yeah. Welcome. Yeah. Something. Yeah. Welcome. Let's take. This is some print statement which we have to use. Now, what we have to do? Which I said before only, the init method is nothing but it is called every time when you create the object. So, see now, we have created here the object. So, when this object was created, when the apple read 12, At that time the welcome is called. Means welcome means what? This method, this init method is called. Yes or no? Again, when we created this again x1 object, again the welcome is called. Again the welcome is called. Two times the welcome is called. If we create another object, again another time also the welcome will be called. Means what? Every time when the object was created, at the every time the when object is created, the init method will be called. Yes or no? Now what we have to do? So now here only we can take the arguments, like we have name, color and the price. Let's take the let's take this name, color and the price over here only. Let's consider here only. We can take in this way also. Directly we can access here only, like name, color and the price attributes we can access over here only. Now what we'll be using here? Now we have to use self and name equals to name. So see the color difference so that you can understand what is this name and what is this name. So this name is nothing but this name is equals to this name which we passed over here, the attribute which we passed over here. This name is equals to this name, and this name is not equals to this name. This both name, this name is different and this name is different. Not only name over here, you can take anything. Not only in the name, we can take any variable like n1 or num. Any variable you can take. Not only the name, you can take anything. So as of now, let's take the name only. Yeah, understood the difference between this name and this name? So this name and this name is the same. These both are the attributes, but this name is not equals to this name. So similarly, we can do with the color and the price also. Now here, no need to use this thing. Directly we can access over here the attributes. We can directly access. What is the first parameter over here? The name. So we can use the name, which is the apple, and next one is color. Let's take the color as green, and next one is price. Let's take the price as some 30. Yeah, so we can directly access the values for this parameters. Here in this way we can access directly. So by these the code will be reduced. The reduction of the lines of code will be reduced. Lines of code will be reduced by using this init method. Okay, we can access directly over here in this way. And to access this thing, we can use this print x dot name. To access a particular name value, we'll get the apple. To access a particular color value, we'll get the color value. Then price. Similarly, we can work with this constructor also. Look at here, we are getting the same result. But what is the difference between the before code and the now present code? The lines of code is reduced. Lines of code is reduced. And so this is the easy way than the previous way. Yes or no? So this is a init method. So in this init method, by using this init method, we can reduce the lines of code. Okay, now let's consider, suppose the price is 0. Let's assume the price is 0. Yes or no? It's the price of the both object creations is 0 only. So when the price of the both constructors or both the objects are 0, it's waste of to use explicitly like comma 0, comma 0. So instead of that, we can directly use here the price is 0 and no need to mention explicitly here the comma equal to 0, comma equal to 0. If we directly print the x dot price, we'll get the 0 value. So if we have any 0 in our attribute, the value of the attribute, directly we can specify over here only equals to 0. No need to use explicitly the value over here. Okay, we'll get the output. Will not get any error by specifying the 0 here. So if the value of the price is 0, we can pass default value like this equals to 0. Okay, that's it about this init function and the self parameter. And if you have any doubts, please mention in the comment section. I will be definitely solve your doubts. And that's it for this video, and let's meet in next video. Thanks for watching.